Hi, boys, girls, and non-binaries. This is Afro Sensei, and welcome to Lyrical Tea. So the song I'm doing today is called Love Takeover, which is a song that's coming from my upcoming album, BGC, which should be out sometime next year. Well, this song I really wanted to focus on the power of coming out and celebrating that, coming out as LGBTQ. So that was really the main focus of the song. So getting into the first verse.
Delicate queen with an iron will, strutting down the hallway in mama's heels. Flying stun that's dressed to kill, clean kicks, fresh straightaways, making them ill.
So with the first verse, I kind of worked my way through the alphabet, shall we say. The first line, delicate queen with an iron will, talking about a young, feminine gay man, strutting down the hallway in mama's heels, that many gay men have done and will probably continue to do until the end of time. Including myself once or twice, just that curiosity about femininity and really there's nothing really, at least to my mind, in my case, something sexual or anything provocative about it. It's just kids are curious, you see someone's wig, you see a pair of heels, and you wonder, well, what's that like? Because as a man, as a little boy, you're raised and you wear shoes, you wear pants. It's really more like in a way you want to call it playing dress up, or an exploration of just having fun and being curious as a child. And then get into the next line, flying instead of dressed to kill, showing the other side as a young woman who sort of rejects traditional femininity and offers something different, which in her case means fresh fade, but the waves, some swim, clean kicks, opting for a different version of how she expresses herself. And then you get to the next line.
I-16s, ice grills, what you prefer. She hesitate to say you're in the him and her. Trapped in your own body from the inside out. Cause your own trap shit and what you're about. They trying to play you, trying to say to you, you don't know who you really are. Block out the madness of love's a habit. Every queer kid is a star.
High 16s, ice girls are what you prefer, but you hesitate to say you're in the him and her. Referring to trades, so say the more masculine side of the spectrum of gay men, of bisexual men in this case, someone who's into traditionally masculine things like rap, in terms of dressing, the ice grills, someone who basically would be straight except for the fact that they like men as well as women. I wanted to include that because I think both within the community and outside the community, you have people who judge bisexual men as being deceitful or dangerous or somehow selfish, manipulative, all those things, and so they get it from both sides, so to speak. So that's what that line was about. The hesitation may come from that, the fear that if you acknowledge that you're attracted to the same sex, that the woman would ever date you again, and also that you'll be judged by gay men in terms of maybe being on the bi now gay later phase, which some men do. When they're initially afraid to come out as gay, they say they're bi, and eventually they say they're gay. But in some men's case, they generally are bisexual, and that needs to be acknowledged. And then the next line saying, trapped in your own body from the inside out, talking about the trans community, and I obviously want to include that in that line. So they try to play you, try to say to you, you don't know who you really are. Again, whether that's within the community, whether that's outside the outside world, the outside environment, people try to convince you that somehow you're going through a phase or something that is somehow sinful or something that's wrong about you being who you are. Block out the madness of love's a habit. Blocking out the madness means block out all that noise, people telling you who you aren't, and really believe who you are. And also, self-love's a habit, meaning doing that isn't necessarily an easy thing. Sometimes it could be a daily thing or things you have to remind yourself of when you're feeling low or you're going through something. You have to really remind yourself, what are the things that benefit me? What are the things that are helpful to me, help me be my best self, for lack of a better word. And so self-love is a habit, meaning you have to put those things into practice even when they're not necessarily easy or fun or hashtaggy. Just came up with that word hashtaggy, maybe I should copyright that. But you have to do it even when it's not cute and fun and trendy. You have to really think about what is best for you and what will help you the most in maintaining yourself. So and then get into the pre-chorus.
No turning back now. Don't look over your shoulder. No
Pre-chorus really, I think, just extends the sentiment of the verse. No turning back now. The hardest part is over. Look over your shoulder. This idea. The hardest part is the self-acceptance, that acknowledging this part of you is who you are, and not being ashamed of it, and not denying it to yourself, not lying to yourself about it. Once you do that, I think that's the hardest part. Accepting something that's fundamental about yourself, and everything else after that. Not that it is necessarily easy, but you have a little bit more. When you have that sense of self-worth, it's easier to overcome. Maybe people losing friends, or losing people who can't wrap their heads around the fact that this is who you actually are and it's not changing. So that's where that really comes from. Then you get into the chorus, of course.
It feels so good when you let love take over.
Of course, it's big, it's anthemic. It's not a stretch to wonder what it's about. It feels so good when you let love take over. Meaning, once you let in love, either from other people, but also love of self. Once that happens and you let that take over, it feels great. It feels something. You can celebrate yourself. You can celebrate other people. You have an easier time moving through the world if you accept yourself for who you are. So, moving on to the second verse.
How dare they not call you by your name? Disrespecting now, they do the same. If one of us is bound, none of us are free. Equality is not destiny.
Second verse again, it refers specifically, in my mind when I was writing it, refers to the transgender community, because I do think among all the letters, they're still struggling more than the rest of us in terms of acknowledgement and in terms of rights, and definitely in terms of violence, particularly about Black trans women. That's something that they have to face daily. And I think, again, within the community and outside the community, but specifically within the community, they aren't also always acknowledged or always given the respect that they should be given by other people, by the LGBT. But outside of that, I think it also can apply to anybody else. As a Black man, as a gay man, it can be frustrating being judged by other Black people when white people turn around and do the same thing to us in terms of stereotyping and judging and discrimination, things like that. It's going to be very frustrating to hear someone go off on a tangent about white supremacy and systemic racism and be in a amen corner and agreeing with them, but then have them turn around and call me being too sensitive or wanting special rights or having an agenda for wanting us to exist and be human as a gay person. So it can apply to that. It can apply to me and maybe other Black men, not necessarily being sensitive to women or in general, or specifically Black women and what they have to deal with being Black and being a woman. So it can apply to anybody who feels like not all parts of them are being acknowledged, especially by people who should quote unquote know better. So that's what that line's about. A lot of language in that little bit line, but there it is. Then you go get back to the pre-chorus again. No turning back now. Over your shoulder. It feels so good when you let love take over. And again, just hammers on that point again of like self-love being a great thing and everything else. So then you get into, I guess you can call it the breakdown.
Do it, baby, straight on now. Do it, baby, straight on now.
So with the breakdown, of course, the lyrics are pretty repetitive. Do it, baby, straight on now. It's more encouragement. Specifically, when I was writing that part, I was thinking of the Garbage song "Cherry Lips," the part where the music drops out. She just says, "Go, baby, go over and over again." If you're of a certain age and you also remember those early Apple ads, you'll know that song very well. But I always love that song. I still love that song, and I wanted to kind of do my own version of that. So that's where the inspiration came from musically. And just the lyrics that repeat themselves, and the music builds and builds and builds, and then you get to the last part, which is the modulations of the chorus. So with the choruses going up, modulation means the key changes. The key just goes up and up. I wanted to have a sort of Beyonce Love on Top moment. Of course, with her, she thinks she did about 6 modulations. I couldn't do that many in my natural voice. Can't stretch that high. But I really wanted to do something different with the song instead of just going back to the chorus and just repeating it and doing ad-libs over it and ending it that way. I wanted to do something that would really take it in a different direction. I think it really came across with the modulations because it goes up again. It really highlights the idea of celebration and that big swell of emotion when you feel accepted, more so for yourself, but also about other people. And it really brings home that idea of celebration and the big thing that's happening. Because in the grand scheme of things, you accepting yourself for who you are isn't necessarily big in the grand scheme of things that are happening in terms of the universe or whatever. It's a small thing, but in terms of you and yourself, it's a big thing. And I think the modulations really do that and really hammer that home. So overall, I'm very happy with how the song turned out. I like the sort of genre mismatch of things where you have Afro beats in the drums, the drum kick and the snare and everything else, the kick drum. But you also have elements of rock with the guitars in the chorus, with the distorted guitar, riffs and things like that. But you also have at the same time that bass line is to me is like pure 80s inspired dance music. So like New Shoes or stuff like just, maybe a little bit of Janet, Prince. It really brings that sound into it. So, and all, to my mind, really melded together well into one cohesive track. So, that's Lyrical Tea, and I'm Afro Sensei.